What did you make of the game, actually? Because they didn't throw the kitchen sink at it as much as I thought they would have done.
Do you know what? I thought the start of the game, I thought was incredible, end to end. Pope makes 2 unbelievable saves, and they got the other in. And Anthony Gordon has a good chance. Keeper makes a good save as well. It was one of them end to end games, but I don't know if it was because the game against PSG, first game back in the Champions League for 20 years. I could feel the atmosphere coming through the TV. Like it felt like it was.
Yeah, I know that.
It was deafening. I didn't really feel that last night. I didn't really feel that it had the same kind of energy in the building. But when you look at the chances created, I mean, I thought Dortmund played really well, scored a really good goal, nice finish, really well played. I still think Newcastle had chances. You look at the Wilson chance, where he takes a really good first touch and then he hits it with the outside of his right foot. Keeper saves it. He hits the bar from a header, which was incredibly unlucky. Anthony Gordon had a couple chances as well. So
yeah, I thought he played well.
They had opportunities to win that game. So I think you almost go, it's disappointing to lose, but you didn't get battered. There were moments there in that game where Newcastle certainly could have got something out of it, but again, it was always...
Was it down to the final third? They had more possession. I think it was 60-40.
All it was, they didn't take their chances.
They had 3 shots on target out of a possible 12.
Yeah, they didn't take their chances. The Wilson one, which I will never kind of hammer a centre forward because at least he's hit the target, but that there, he'll be thinking to himself, how have I not scored that? Gordon's had a couple of opportunities as well, so if they'd have taken their chances, they would have won that game, but they didn't.
Are you saying their squad's not good enough for the Champions League? Do you think there are some players you look on the bench and
do you know what?
That are playing?
I'm not saying their squad's not good enough for the Champions League because they've got themselves in there, but when I was watching the game last night, I did think there's so many areas where they could find better to go to another area.
Go on.
Even put Almiron, good player, was to run around. Yeah. You can't tell me you can't find another right winger that's got more quality than him.
Okay.
You start looking in midfield, Sean Longstaff, big fan of him.
Yeah.
You can find better than them. You can't. There are better players out there, and as they progress up the period, they're going to have to find better players. And I said, I'm not disrespecting any of these players, but they bring on Matt Targett as a left back in the Champions League.
So with that in mind, right? So we were talking to Newcastle fans yesterday. A lot of them thought they could win the competition. They still might go on to win it, but I doubt it. But you know, those kind of performances, especially at home with that wonderful crowd behind them, you expect them to get a result of some kind, even a draw. You don't want to lose your home games. What realistically do you think Newcastle should be looking at for a good season? Realistically, they're all going to go shout silverware and top, but realistically, with the manager they've got, the players, etc., what, as a Newcastle fan, would you look back on and go, do you know what? 5th and semi-finals of X, Y, and Z, I was happy with that. What's good?
I mean, if they get to the last stages of the Champions League, you guys are good, and they finish 5th, that might be enough to get them in the Champions League, which I think it probably would be. But I think Newcastle fans want some success now. Do they not want a trophy?
I think they want that, but realistically, here's my question.
Realistically, I think they can win one.
Let me ask you this. This is a horrible question, would it be better for Newcastle, do you think, if they finished 3rd in the group, dropped into the Europa League? Would they have more chance of winning the Europa League than Champions League?
I don't know. I'm not sure. No. I think...
But you think they've got as much chance to win the Champions League?
Not as much chance, but I think the Newcastle fans would want to stay into that Champions League because if you offered them, they drop into the Europa and then they win it, of course they're going to take that.
Yeah.
But I just think if they drop into the Europa and then they don't win that either, it's almost like, oh.
Okay, what's better? This is a silly question, but I'll ask it. What's better for Newcastle, right? Is it semi-finals of Europa or last 16 in the Champions League?
Last 16 in the Champions League.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. Because then they've got out the group, which no one gave them a prayer of getting out of, by the way.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I agree with that.
Anything to do with the Champions League, I'd say that.
They're joint second with Dortmund on 4 points, then PSG are top with 6. I still expect them, AC Milan at bottom, with the whipping boys. I still expect them...
Do you know why I don't?
It's so tight.
The reason why I don't is because not that the draw was favourable because they went to AC Milan first, didn't they? But when you have the 2 big uns in the group, you'd have to say Dortmund and Paris at home, and then you've got to go to Dortmund, which will be tough, raucous. Paris Saint-Germain, obviously.
You use the word raucous.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Paris Saint-Germain, them 2 away games. Be tough. That I tell you, really tough.
Do you fancy him to get out of it?
I think it's a battle between them and Dortmund.
Yeah. It's a very, very tough one to call. Let's speak to some Newcastle fans. 03717223344 is the number that Anthony's died. Hi, Ant.
Hi, lads. How are you doing? You all right?
We're great. Very well. Did you go yesterday?
I didn't know, but I watched it at home. It's hard to get a Newcastle ticket these days, if I'm honest with you.
Okay, yeah, no, fair enough. What went wrong? Because all Newcastle fans, and rightly so, were so confident before kick-off.
Oh, well, I was confident. I thought we were going to turn them over 2-3-0, but maybe not nil. If I'm honest, a bit of a hangover from the PSG game. Really, that they didn't really start the way we did the PSG game. Like the tempo wasn't there. They weren't flying into tackles or anything like that. The atmosphere was a bit flat as well yesterday. I felt it, like through the TV and what Bent was saying as well. It was a bit of a...
Why? It's never flat at St James's.
Well, well, when it was with Ashley, it was absolutely horrific.
Okay, yeah, but you know what I mean. Champions League night.
Yeah. As of late, yeah. I don't know if I'm honest. I've got no idea why it was flat. It was just quiet, and yeah, it was hard work really watching it.
Anthony, what about the injury to Isak? You're hoping it's not too serious?
Yeah, well, just the Callum Wilson injury away from having Anthony Gordon playing through the middle there as well. I think we're a bit light up front. I don't know why we signed another right back in Liverpool, spending 30 million on him in the summer when we could have been putting money elsewhere.
Yeah, that's a good point. Really good point.
Let me quickly speak to Josh, an Everton fan. Thanks, Ant. Hi, Josh. How are you?
Hi, Andy. All right, Benty.
Hey, mate, you're
You all right?
Yeah, I'll try and make this quick because you've got Newcastle fans waiting on the line. But I just want to talk about Anthony Gordon in particular, lads. I think he's a perfect fit for Eddie Howe and the project at Newcastle. He's young and ambitious, obviously, shows the intent of Newcastle to want to drive themselves up the table by trusting young English talent. And I think you've got a future England international on your hands there with Gordon. And it worked both ways. It was business sense for Everton. And I had people saying to me, fellow Evertonians, he'll never make it at Newcastle. And now look at him. He was starting in the Champions League last night. And just as a spin-off to that, just a quick question for Benty. When you played for Charlton and went to Tottenham, that was obviously a similar step to what Anthony's done now to try and further his career. What sort of pressure was on your shoulders, and how did you try and deal with that?
Really good question. I mean, the first thing is the price tag is the thing that you have to deal with first and foremost.
How much was that?
16.5 million, but back then was a record fee for them. But also as well, I've got Berbatov, Keane and Defoe, they're waiting. So it's one of those where it's difficult.
When that came, did any other club come in for you then?
Yeah, there's a few. I went to West Ham, didn't I, for a medical with Kerbishley.
Oh, right.
I went to Spurs instead. But you know what it is? The price tag for a while bothered me for ages. Like, I really struggled to deal with that. So then when it came around again with the Villa Sunderland, it didn't faze me. Because I've been through that difficult period at Tottenham. When that 24 million came out, felt like nothing.
It's weird, isn't it? Had you gone there for free, you would have felt totally different.
Fine, yeah, but do you know what it is though? We do it now. Whenever we talk about a player that's not playing well, the first thing is either he's not playing well, yeah, but it costs 80 million
like
pounds. Anthony, Maguire, or someone like that.
Yeah.
Sancho, it's one of those where you go, it's 80 million.
Kai Havertz.
Prime example again, 65 million. It comes with the territory.
Yeah, and if you paid nothing for Kai Havertz, we probably wouldn't even talk about him. We'd
probably go, he's not bad, you know.
talkSPORT Drive with Andy Goldstein. Monday to Friday afternoon from 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.